time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
And it's great to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of the show all across America. Thank you for being a part of it, however you're consuming us. We could be background noise. We could be right in front of you. You could be podcasting, vodcasting. However you're watching the show, we appreciate it. A lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Antonio Pierce has financial troubles. We're going to talk about it. Yankees have all sorts of troubles right now. Garrett Cole didn't pitch very well last night. Could the Yankees be in some trouble? We'll talk about that, even though they have one of the best records in baseball. Also, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Do they have the potential to do for the WNBA what Magic and Bird did for the NBA? I want to talk about that coming up a little later on as well. But we start things out in the NBA, which has just gone nuts here, it feels like, in the last 48 hours. It's like NBA Finals, you get a week off, Stanley Cup Final ends, and then boom, we've got tons of NBA to talk about. Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com's my man, Kurt Helin, hanging out with us on the show. Sam Yarnell is going to play in the sandbox with us as well. We're going 3-box to start the show today. And guys, let's start with the Knicks. I mean, normally I would be crushed for, here he goes, Knicks fan Jason. But the Knicks made a huge move on Tuesday night. I was bowling when the news came down. Yeah, I was subbing. Somebody had me sub. So the Knicks make a move. They get Mikal Bridges from the Nets. They give up a zillion draft picks. Did anybody see this coming, Kurt?
No. Look, at the start of the offseason, and frankly, going back to last trade deadline, when teams called about Bridges, and everybody called about Bridges, a lot of teams like him, there was a lot of like, no, man, we're building around him. We're going to draw a superstar to play with him and Nick Claxton, and we're going to build something. And they eventually realized that that was kind of a fool's errand, that like guys weren't coming to play with them. They were going to have to rebuild. And so they started letting it be known to some of the teams with picks like Houston, like, hey, Bridges might be available. We'll start to talk with you. The Knicks get wind of this and just went full Godfather. Like, give Leon Rose his credit, man. He's like, oh, you want to talk? How about 5 first-round picks and some swaps? And like, it is, Jason, it's an overpay, but if you're going to go all in, right? Like, don't halfway this thing and try to nickel and dime it. Like, this is the guy they wanted. This is another Villanova guy who's a hand-in-glove fit for the roster, makes them second best team in the East as we stand today, before the draft, before whatever Philadelphia ends up doing. This is your chance. Go all in. And I kind of, just as a fan and certainly as somebody who covers the sport, I would rather have somebody who goes all in than like just tries to barely get by.
I'll tell you something. I said this when the Mavericks made the move for Kyrie Irving. And a lot of people were like, oh, my God, it kind of reeks of desperation or trying to. I would always rather have an owner that's willing to just put it all out there. And this is when Cuban was still the owner. I'd rather have an owner that goes for it. And if it fails, it fails. But at least you could say you tried than some of these teams that just are content with mediocrity and don't take a chance and make that kind of move. I love it.
I think this moves you as a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
This moves it moves the Knicks, not maybe as far as the Knicks fans would like, but it was clearly a move, by the way, made with the Celtics in mind. And now you've got to re-sign OG Anunoby, who opted out. He's going to get paid. You're going to have to step up and pay him if that means some tax money. Because with Anunoby and Bridges, now you got 2 really good wing defenders that you can line up on Brown and Tatum, and you can start to go at Boston at their strength. That's, again, that was a forward-thinking move by the Knicks. They're going to have to figure out the center situation.
What are they going to do? Are they going to be able to keep? Are they going to be able to keep Hartenstein, or is he just going to get offered too much somewhere else?
I think Hartenstein's. I just think that becomes too much, especially for don't trade Mitchell Robinson now. Keep him. Knock on wood, he's healthy. But center in the NBA is now running back in the NFL. It is a mercenary position where I can get somebody cheap who can do a good job. go get that guy. Go get somebody at the minimum who's solid, because I know how good Hartenstein is.
He just felt like such a good fit there. He felt like a Knick.
Unless you can trade Mitchell Robinson and free up some money somehow, because now you're starting. That second tax apron is going to become a de facto hard cap in the NBA within a year. Next year, all the worst of it kicks in, and it's just going to be hard to keep up.
Kurt, how big are we talking when we're talking about this Knicks window now? Because they give up all these picks, and we talked about that. They've still got 5 first-round picks in the next 3 NBA drafts. So, how long do we expect the Knicks to be contenders for?
Let me start to piss off Knicks fans this way. Ready, Jason? That 5 first-round picks is radically overstated. It is really bad. First off, 2 of them are in this draft in the 20s, this down draft in the 20s. Like, great, go ahead, move those. 2 of them are so heavily protected, nobody's had much interest in them. And the third one, you can't really move because of the NBA Seppian rule, where you can't trade picks in consecutive years. So there's not really 5, that you can move in the same way. It's certainly not with the value of the ones you just gave up. That said, I think their window is as long as anybody's window in the current NBA, which is maybe the next 3 seasons. 3-4. I don't think you can really look beyond that in the NBA, but you're in the mix now. The difference between them and Boston is Boston has a margin for error. Kristaps Porzingis can go down in the finals, and I can still win it because I've got Al Horford and I'm just enough depth. I don't think anybody else is going to be that way in the entire NBA. It's not just the Knicks. It's Dallas. It's who we saw kind of when their guys kind of slowed down in the playoffs, weren't quite the same, or the finals kind of weren't the same. It's that way with Denver. We could run through the teams. We'll see whatever Philly looks like, but they're going to be paper thin. There's not going to be any margin for error. But if things go their way, this is a legitimate contender. They were number 2 seed last year, and they just got better.
And I'm hoping that now with the dearth of talent there and enough star power, that somebody can get in Tom Thibodeau's ear and say, all right, you know what? Only 3 of your 4 stars are going to play tonight. You don't have to play every single guy every single night for 40 minutes, Tom. You can give guys a blow here and there to take a night off so that we're not, falling apart when the postseason comes. I want to keep Kurt Helin around. He's going to hang around with us for a couple of segments today. There's a lot to branch into off of this, and we will do that as we continue on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap with the NBA draft upon us.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can use your information in ways that are easy to miss by just monitoring accounts and credit, like opening loans, transferring home titles, even committing crimes.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and it was used for criminal activity.
You can do so much with a social security number that I didn't know could happen. They drained my bank account. It was terrifying.
You're even more vulnerable than you realize. Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place, like someone trying to use your social security number, open a new loan in your name, or even commit a crime in your name.
There was a big yes button and there was a big no button. I clicked, that's not me, and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will be assigned to your case and work to fix the issue on your behalf.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you.
All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts up to $1 million. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. With LifeLock, it's easy to help protect yourself.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock. And for a limited time, save 25% on your first year with promo code 25TV. All plans include a 60-day money-back guarantee. Call 800-710-7531 or visit lifelock.com/25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
It is fast and furious with the NBA right now as we continue on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Who knows? By the time you watch this, there may be a whole bunch of moves we don't even get to. There's that much going on. We continue the conversation. We're going 3-box for the first few segments of the show today. Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. You can catch him there. My man Sam Yarnell is hanging out with us as well. Sam, you had a question or a thought on the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, we spent that whole last segment talking about the trade to the Knicks, the crosstown trade, but let's talk about the return for the Nets because we finally have a clear picture, kind of, actually, on the Kevin Durant return. Cam Johnson, 8 unprotected first-round picks, one protected first-round pick, 2028 first-round pick swap, 2028 unprotected pick swap, and 3 second-round picks. Kurt, I wanted to get your take on that because obviously that whole era in Brooklyn didn't work out. Was it because Durant's foot was on the line? Maybe. But what do you think that return kind of means for Brooklyn? Do they win the Kevin Durant experience?
First off, I would say win. Yeah, you know what? Let's put it this way. I think you got out of that as cleanly as possible, right? Like that was... Saying it didn't work out, Sam, is incredibly generous of you. Like, that's a kind way of phrasing what actually happened there. But the way they got out of it, the picks they got, remember, they gave up they had nothing. Like, they went all in on that. They got out of it now, enough picks that I love that they picked a direction. Like, hey, we're going to rebuild. We're going to tear this thing down to the studs. And by the way, we're going to do it now. Because 2025 is Cooper's flag and a very good draft. 2026, we didn't talk about much. Another guys are high on it. There are stars in that draft. Go be bad. Got their own picks back from Houston, which is huge. So, because that's when you're tanking, that's the most valuable thing is your own pick. They have got really, they've put themselves in a very good position now to rebuild. It's going to take some time, but they're going to build something up, and they have the perks that the Knicks have and the Lakers have and Miami has, which is they're in New York, man. If you build a base, if you build a good roster and you need to fill it in with a free agent, guys will come there.
I want to talk about the Warriors for a second because there's a lot going on there. The rhetoric that I saw leading into today seemed to point to me that this organization's not going to keep Klay Thompson. They're talking about tough decisions. It just feels like the way information is coming out would lead you to believe that they are setting up the fan base and the league as a whole for the idea that Klay Thompson's not going to be back there next year. Is that the feeling you get?
And have for a while. Yeah, they have been leaning into this for a while. And let's be honest, guys, watching Klay Thompson in Orlando Magic jersey is just going to be weird, right? Like maybe it's not Orlando, maybe he surprises and goes somewhere else, but whatever it is, it's going to be weird. That said, yes, that's what they're going to do. And the plan is win now, look, Steph Curry is still a top 10 player in the league. I mean, you can argue you can argue the number if you want, but still a guy you can build a championship around, still a guy with floor spacing, and you can build. They keep Draymond because he's still a very good defender. He's still a good secondary shot creator. They have some athleticism in Kuminga and stuff, but you're probably going to have to give him up. They want Paul George. They reportedly will give him the 4-year max but it's a trade. You're going to have to trade for him first and give up a lot of money. So you're going to have to send Kuminga. This is where Andrew Wiggins comes in. Andrew Wiggins' massive salary becomes the ballast for whatever it is. And if you're the Clippers, hey, man, I want to win in the new building. I can put Kuminga and If I don't re-sign Paul George, but I re-sign James Harden and put Kuminga and Wiggins around Kawhi Leonard, I'm a pretty good team. I'm a respectable team that people will go see in the fancy new building, but rebuilding's coming.
Yeah, I just don't know if rebuilding or being good enough, especially when you consider how good the West is. I don't know if going into a new arena, what the ticket prices are going to cost. I wonder, in a city with the Lakers, who now have Redick, and, hey, Showtime in Los Angeles with JJ Redick and Anthony Davis and LeBron in the twilight of his career. I don't know if that's enough. I don't.
Yeah. Look, first off, I think without going down a deep rabbit hole and eating up your whole segment. Yeah. Ballmer has done everything right, and building a new building to get out of the shadow was part of that. But the other thing, if you're down in LA, he has spent in the community. Backpacks with Clippers logos for every kid in the LA school district and Long Beach school district and some others. If you go play at a bunch of public courts in parks, they were refurbished by the Clippers and have the Clipper logo on. He has done it from the grassroots up, and he spent his money wisely. And all that said, dude, it's a Laker town. It's going to be a Laker town. It's not changing.
It is a Laker town, Kurt. And speaking of the Lakers, Bronny James reports today the Lakers, they're prepared to offer LeBron the 3-year max. Obviously, that's LeBron's decision to make. But is it a foregone conclusion Bronny's a Laker? Obviously, the sports books are kind of telling us that it is. But do you think that he goes anywhere else?
Rich Paul has done his best to make sure it's the Lakers, because they want to keep LeBron. They want to keep LeBron happy. Not only will they give him whatever. Look, he's still the guy who fills the building. He's still the guy who sells the sponsorships. He is still he makes them a lot of money by being LeBron James. As much as they pay him, I guess he's going to opt out, and he's going to opt out and only make $162 million on the next deal instead of 164. But he gets a no trade clause out of that. He makes them way more money than that. Like he is an income into himself, and you want to keep him happy. You go get Bronny, and it's the one team that will give Bronny a legit contract. It's not a two-way. He will get the 15th man minimum contract. And he's going to spend, frankly, he should spend 2 years in the G League. He's going to spend most of that year in the G League, but he's going to be up with the Lakers at points. He is going to get a chance to touch the floor with the Lakers, with LeBron, and that's going to keep LeBron happy.
Donovan Mitchell, JJ Redick, Rob Pelinka, by the way, looks like Rob Lowe. I just realized.
Always has.
Yeah, I never realized how much he looked like Rob Lowe. So I want to talk about Donovan Mitchell, get into the JJ Redick stuff, and also a couple of other coaching things going on. Detroit still doesn't have a head coach. Kenny Atkinson, that's where you go if you're. I don't get it. We're coming back. One more NBA segment. Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com is hanging out with us on the show. Sam Yarnell is still here as well. Town and Country Sam, we're going to call this. Town and Country Sam. Later in the show, we'll explain why Sam is in a place that looks like it needs porcelain ducks and a bird in the background. So Kurt, I want to ask you about the JJ Redick stuff, because I gotta be honest, I see people hyperventilating over the fact that he's dropping F-bombs in a press conference, in his introductory press conference. And I'm sorry. I mean, I can do the pearl clutching as good as anybody, but this is not something that I'm losing sleep over. What I would be more concerned about is the fact that you basically, for one of the most high-profile jobs in all of sports, with a future Hall of Famer, one of the top 5, top 2, top 3 greatest players of all time, and another future Hall of Famer in Anthony Davis, that you've got a guy who is admittedly going to be learning on the job, that wants to be a great coach, but is not yet a great coach. That, to me, would be more alarming and disturbing and worth talking about than, well, he used the F word too many times. I don't know.
Jason, the F word thing, I can't say that. Forget that. Let's not worry about it. Like, I don't think, I'm with you, man. I thought he won the press conference, frankly. I thought he was fantastic. Said all the right things to Laker fans about being there to win championships, admitted he's going to have to learn on the job. I thought he, not surprisingly, I mean, he's good on air. He's great on those podcasts. Like, not surprisingly, he was fantastic in the press conference. But you're spot on. Look, the reason he's there, though, he's not there if LeBron James and Anthony Davis don't want him. AD was hands-on with this. LeBron's trying to say he wasn't. Yes, he was. Like, this hire doesn't happen if it's not his guy, if it's not somebody he wants to. So he said all the right things, but man, they could have resurrected John Wooden and put him in charge of this team. And if they don't upgrade the roster, it doesn't. Especially in that West.
Does Anthony Davis like the idea of what Redick is saying? Because he wasn't at the presser, and a lot of other players were. Does he like the idea of what Redick is selling? The idea of him being sort of a facilitator and not just doing one or two things, but really showcasing everything that he can do?
Absolutely. Redick has promised to go find they're talking about finding a real five, putting somebody next to him. Look, he's got to play center in the clutch minutes. He's their best center. Frankly, he's one of the 5 best centers in the league. Like, clutch minutes, big minutes, and you get into the playoffs, he's going to have to play some 5, but he doesn't like the wear and tear over the full 82. So they're going to go get they might even draft him. That might be Zach Edey at 17 is not crazy to the Lakers. If he falls, I don't know if he falls that far, but Zach Edey at 17 is like not crazy. For that reason, they've got to go get somebody like that who can just eat up center minutes. And showcasing him, Anthony Davis loves that idea. And it just, to me, is at least 32 this season by the time the playoffs. Like, I guess technically in his prime, but he's on the back end of it. And you've got to win now. And they have to make some really smart decisions with that roster this offseason. And are you confident that Rob Pelinka is going to nail the offseason?
No, I'm not. But he's got a great haircut. Donovan Mitchell, do we assume now that is a foregone conclusion? There aren't going to be any last-second surprises here. Politics would call it a November surprise or an October surprise. There's not going to be any, late June, early July surprises here. Donovan Mitchell staying. He had to have had some hand in Kenny Atkinson getting this job, which is still mind-blowing to me that Kenny Atkinson wound up being the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers with all the names that were out there. Mitchell staying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not. And this was when JB Bickerstaff was gone. That was pretty much the sign. He wanted an offense with more motion and movement in it. He's got it, right? Like Kenny Atkinson's offense is. And same with, this was going to be James Borrego's job until the Detroit job opened up. Borrego will get the Detroit job almost certainly within a week or so. But this is ball movement, player movement, and they're not getting. It looks like they're not getting rid of Garland. That Kenny Atkinson believes he can make this work. They've been the 4th seed in the West 2 years. I mean, in the East 2 years in a row. Does this really upgrade them? I mean, a better offense? I don't know.
Real quick, because I know Sam's got another question to ask you. Is it a surprise to you that Sam Cassell is not getting a job? Why is he not getting a job? It feels like Eric Bieniemy with, before, when he was a Chiefs assistant, everybody's like, why is Eric Bieniemy not getting a job? Why is Sam Cassell not getting an opportunity?
Team owners don't want to play the big ball dance fine when they get. I don't know, honestly. I would think at some point he would have gotten the job by now. Loved by players, has paid his dues, deserves a shot somewhere. There's always guys like that, and Bieniemy's a great example. I don't know why he's been passed over. I'm not in the interview rooms, but somebody's got to give that guy a shot.
Kurt, I saved it for as long as I could. I wanted to waste as little of your time with it as possible, but I'm wearing my Wizards red today. 2 picks in the first round. As of the time of this recording, Kyle Kuzma could be traded to the Kings here in the next couple of hours. Have you heard anything on any trade fronts with the Wizards? And can you give me some hope into this draft?
Yeah, well, first off, I would be surprised if it's not today, if it's not during the draft with Kuzma getting traded. By the time you're, holding a sparkler in your hand on July 4th, I would be surprised if he is still a member of the Wizards, right? And Wizard, beer in one hand, sparkler in the other hand. Is that?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's about right. He will get dealt, and they will start this again. They are rebuilding. The other thing is they're going to take Sarr with number 2, Alex Sarr out of France. 7'1" guy, protects the rim, athletic, moves well. You've got to develop this kind of raw offensive game. He's got to develop a shot, but I like him, and I think that he is a high floor guy. He is not going to be a bust for you. I don't know if he's going to develop into an all-star, but he's not going to be terrible in it. If you can pick up a rotation the top of this draft, here's the thing. You're going to take a very defensible, good pick in Alex Sarr, and somebody 3 to 5 picks behind you is going to be better. And the same thing's going to happen with the Hawks at 1. And it's just going to be about who gets the right guy and who develops.
Our friends in Masson country will appreciate that question, Sam. So thank you. You just got us another year on Masson, I think, with that question. We'll see where it all shakes out in the draft on Wednesday night. Always appreciate it, Kurt. Thank you for a few segments today. We'll talk to you soon.
I look forward to it, man. Take care.
A lot to get to as we continue on this Wednesday edition of the show. Thanks for being with us on this Wednesday edition of the show. Thanks to Kurt Helin. Yeoman's work by that guy. Something to consider coming up in about 10 minutes. Special edition. Stephen A. said, what? We got that coming up. Antonio Pierce. He's got some financial troubles. Talk about that as well. Sammy Arnell rejoins me. I was thinking about this over the last 24 hours because I was working on some things, some other projects that are Decibel 88 related and things I got going on. I was thinking about this, and I don't know if I've heard anybody bring this idea up, but to me, the more I start to look at Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, I'm starting to wonder if the two of them have the potential to do for the WNBA what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson did for the NBA. And I bring it up because at the time that Bird and Magic came along, the NBA was kind of a fledgling league. It wasn't, it wasn't top of mind. It wasn't appointment viewing. David Stern had just come in, and we know what David Stern wound up doing, and what he was able to do for that league from a marketing standpoint. He was a genius. He changed the way it was all played. Remember, a lot of people don't realize Gary Bettman is a disciple, if I'm not mistaken, of David Stern. So I mean, what David Stern did for the NBA, it cannot be overstated. But what Magic and Bird brought to the NBA was a rivalry. It brought a story. It created a narrative. The kid from French Lick, the dueling in college that the two did before they got to the NBA. And then what happened for so many years while they were in the NBA and what that rivalry meant to the league. East Coast, West Coast, all of that. Well, it feels to me like there is the potential. It's not there yet. Calm down. I'm not losing my mind on this. But it feels to me, Sam, like there is the potential for that in Indiana and Chicago. It feels like there is the potential for that kind of rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. 2 years in a row meeting in the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. There is obviously some tension between the two. I think in the case of Angel Reese, I don't think she likes Caitlin Clark. And I'm not saying it's a racial thing or anything like that. You just don't have to like somebody you compete with all the time. I've had people in my life that I've regularly competed with. It's different. It's bowling, but there are people that and I mean this. There are people that I've competed with on a regular basis in tournaments and things like that you see all the time. You don't like them. You don't like those people. You respect them, but you don't like them.
The caveat, not necessary. Competition, no matter what it is in. It could be versus someone else who lives in your apartment building doing laundry in the laundry machine.
Getting there faster.
Competition. Yeah. Competition, it breeds greatness. It really does at the end of the day.
Get in unit laundry, by the way, and you can avoid all of that. Sam,
one of the greatest things that you can have is in unit laundry in life. Top 5, S tier.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the Magic and Larry comparison is interesting, but Jason, my first thought with that is, don't you think in terms of like establishing the league, we can look to the older superstars, the Tarasis and the Sue Birds of the WNBA, really Tarasi and Sue Bird. They seem to me more like the Magic and Larry. To me, I think this Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, Asia Wilson brand of WNBA that we're seeing now is more the LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry type of issuing of the new type of basketball that the WNBA is turning into, which is much more similar to the NBA in that it's a superstar league. We're seeing this across the board, right? Look at the Aces from last year. Aja Wilson, the MVP, leads them to the finals in a duel with the Liberty. And who do the Liberty have? They've got Stewie, and perennial MVP contender as well. So I think that the W is turning into a superstar league before our very eyes. But I do agree with you in that Angel and Caitlin are really on the forefront of the younger generation, and that generation that was, and I'll throw Sabrina in there, and we know Paige Buckers is right around the corner. I think that they're really the forefront of these women that have a lot of success in college and go on to lead these superstar-laden teams.
But you can build stories around rivalries. And the names that you mentioned that were sort of the early stages of the WNBA, the Tarasis and Sue Birds and all those and the like, Tina Charles, don't forget her, who's still performing at a high level at like age 35. There wasn't that animosity or tension between them. And what makes for great anything is tension. What makes for great anything is tension. Felix and Oscar in The Odd Couple made for great tension. Laverne and Shirley make for tension. Give me two people that sort of clash and butt heads. And the beauty of the WNBA is too, because there's not a lot of teams. Now, granted, they play less games. They're going to play each other a lot. Now, Clark and Reese won't play each other again until August. The Olympic break has a lot to do with that, but they played 3 games against each other early on. I think it's got the potential to build into something really special, especially if they're teams. Imagine if that game in August has, playoff seeding on the line, or even just making the playoffs online. It could be really good.
They're the last team in and the first team out of the playoffs right now. Let's keep that there until August. I want to see it. I
don't know if Indiana and Chicago fans want to see that, but we certainly would. We're coming back with something to consider next. Sports Wrap continues on this Wednesday edition of the show. Full draft coverage over the next couple of days on the program. All right, odds and ends in 10 minutes, but right now, Sam, it's something to consider. By the way, I do really like you in the town and country environment. All you need are some porcelain ducks in the background, and you are good to go, man. Maybe a bird painting.
For the viewers out there.
You should explain to people, because it is something to consider, and we always we have a little fun in this segment. You should explain to people why you are not in Studio Y.
Jason,
or Studio
I should
S.
be Studio S, Studio S2. I should explain to the people, more specifically my parents who watch the show, who I have not told about this. Yes, we are in a remote location right now, obviously undisclosed. We don't want the books ever to find us.
Yeah.
There was a little situation in Studio S. We had some water damage, some stuff that had to be taken care of. So we had to vacate the premises for a couple of days, and we'll be back and better than ever by the end of the week. So we're feeling good.
This
we
apartment.
trust the
Can we
process
just
here.
say this place you're living in is? I mean, this is like some epic disaster stuff. Like, did you guys get any information about this place before you moved in?
I think I need to sage it when we get back in, because there's clearly some bad juju. There's something's going on there. Maybe it was built on a burial ground or something like that.
Like
I don't know.
poltergeist. You forgot to move the headstones. All right, so let's do something to consider. Consider this: Antonio Pierce is broke. If you go out to dinner with Antonio Pierce, put your credit card down on the table first, because he will not. The dude is broke. Broke. Now we know why he was so emotional about getting that Raiders job. It meant a paycheck.
I offered to
Tashawn
let
Reed
him stay in Studio S2, but it's out of commission right now. So
Tashawn Reed of theathletic.com. A recent bankruptcy filing by Jocelyn Pierce, hell hath no fury, indicates that her husband, Antonio Pierce, is financially responsible for $28 million in civil judgments. Pro Football Talk has the story, but again, the Athletic's done a lot of the work on this. Reed explained the bankruptcy filing included a statement from Jocelyn Pierce that creditors have attempted to collect assets belonging to the couple. Nissan Motor Acceptance Corporation has a $23 million judgment, and Hyundai Capital America has a $4.5 million judgment. According to the filing, both recently attempted to garnish Pierce's wages with the Raiders. Wow. That sparked the bankruptcy filing. I mean, that's some bad stuff, man.
Low-hanging fruit here. But so now we can add Hyundai and Nissan to the list of people that Mark Davis is paying to coach his football team. I think that makes it 11 now.
Oh my God!
Impressive, truly.
Well, apparently the judgments go back to an investment that Pierce made in car dealerships during the 2010s. Personal guarantees were made when the businesses defaulted on their loans. They come after you. There you go.
So obviously, us not being we talk about sports on this show.
Sure.
But have you ever noticed, Jason, like there are way more car dealerships than cars that exist?
I don't know how any of them make it. There's a zillion cars on every lot. There's no way they're all getting sold.
It makes a lot of sense, right? Like guy making money in coaching, trying to make more on the side, investing in car dealerships.
Property.
Some of them have to go under. There are just too many of them.
Real quick, invest in property. You never lose your money in property. Buy homes, buy apartment complexes.
Yep.
Brandon Jacobs bought a car wash in East Haven, Connecticut, where I used to live. Do that. Buy car dealerships.
Buy dirt.
All right, time for another installment of here on Sports Wrap. Okay, Stephen A. Smith, Knicks fan number one, super excited because the Knicks got Mikal Bridges. Stephen A. Smith needs to be reminded of what Stephen A. Smith said in 2016 about a certain Villanova men's basketball roster that now has 4 players from it on the New York Knicks. First Take, 2016, him and Skip. Here we go.
Villanova doesn't have a real NBA prospect on their squad. Villanova doesn't have a real NBA prospect on their squad.
Nothing. Better part is Skip Bayless being like, nope, they don't.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Our guy Skip being the greatest yes man of all time on one of the worst takes 8 years later. Oh my goodness.
Sad part is the sad part is this. There will not be a single soul that calls out Stephen A. Smith on that on ESPN. Because nobody's intellectually honest enough to do it. And they're all apparently scared of the guy. Why, I don't know. Stephen A. Smith, let's just be clear on something. Stephen A. Smith is there for one reason. To entertain you. Because he sure as hell is not informing you. He sure as hell doesn't know what he's talking about. Because that's what he gave you in 2016. But he'll make up some BS reason for why he said it.
Yeah, it was wrong. You just got to eat it. Sometimes it happens.
And by the way, I'm sure over the last 20 years, I've probably said some things that I wouldn't want people to find. Don't go digging through my Twitter. We're coming back. All right, just about time to wrap things up on this Wednesday edition of the show. Before we do, a reminder, make sure to check out the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available weekdays, weekends, morning, night, lunchtime, whenever you need it. Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, you name it. We are on all of them. If you can't catch the show in your market on the same time every day, maybe sometimes they only carry the show certain days, just go there. You can get it anytime. All right, without any further delay, time for some odds and ends. Sam Yarnell. Odds and ends. Maybe the end of the Yankees. I mean, my God, the last week and a half has been brutal. Yankees get stomped by the Mets last night. 9-7 was the final, and the only reason it was that close was Aaron Judge hit a grand slam. By the way, Aaron Judge is on a pace for 58-150 right now. Just let that sink in for a second. Marinate in that for a moment, as my buddy Anita Marks used to plagiarize. Say. Think about that. 58-150 for Aaron Judge. He's got a shot at 60 again. And certainly your front runner for MVP. Garrett Cole got rocked last night. It's still early. I'm not panicking on the Cole stuff yet. I think he's going to be fine. But the Yankees have had a tough go of it yet, and the Mets continue to play really well.
The Yankees are fine. They're tied for the most wins in baseball. I am not concerned.
You say it, then I know it's true.
Until someone gets hurt, and then everything will fall apart and the wheels will fall off very fast. But that's not going to happen yet, so you don't have anything to worry about. The Yankees are fine right now. The Mets, yeah, you're right. They've been playing well. They've gotten very, very lucky. Let's call it what it is. No one expected Garrett Cole to blow up the way that he did. I'm interested to see what Luis Gil can do. I'm still, again, we're at the point in the season where I am officially edgy on the Luis Gil thing, but I do think the Cole production makes up for it down the stretch. Again, it assumes they can all stay healthy, and quite frankly, right now they have. If they can continue to fill that void that Stanton's leaving, it's hard finding a new cleanup hitter, obviously, with Rizzo being what he is and being injured, and Stanton being down as well. Gonna be hard, and obviously none of us like Alex Verdugo, the ball player or the person, so that's gonna be tough.
Oh, come on, don't be so mean. I'll give you one. You ready? How about trading for, say, Vlad Guerrero? Oh, have you heard this? Vladdy, now all of a sudden Vlad Jr. is open to the idea of going to play for the Yankees. Tell you a funny story. 14 years ago, I was in the original version of the UFL. I was the play-by-play voice of the Hartford Colonials. We used to do a feature on the weekly TV show, which I hosted, Hartford Colonials Insider or something like that, where I would go out and try a different position on the field in practice. Well, one week we went out and I did kicking. And I always thought, hey, I could kick. Anybody can kick extra points. My God, it's nothing. I went out there and Chris Palmer was the head coach. I went up to Chris. I said, I'm going to nail these. And this was all on camera. And Chris said something to me that has stuck with me to this day. He goes, Jason, be careful. The less you say, the less you have to take back. Vlad Guerrero Jr. may want to take that to heart because all he has said for years is, I will never play for the New York Yankees. I'd be dead, and I still wouldn't sign a contract with the Yankees. Under no circumstances will I play for the New York Yankees. Now, all of a sudden, Blue Jays are in the crapper. That organization's in a free fall. Elvis Martinez, their best star, is suspended for 80 games for PEDs. And Vlad Guerrero, lo and behold, interested in playing for anybody, including the New York Yankees. We don't want you now.
Yeah, the Yankees don't. Seriously, and this is not the Yankees hater Sam Yarnell coming out. This is the honest baseball analyst Sam Yarnell coming out. Because frankly, what do you have to give up to get Vlad, right? You got to give up Ben Rice, and you probably got to give up 2 other prospects. And are you really willing to give up 5+ years of
Jason
control
Dominguez?
on a guy?
Give up Jason Dominguez?
Are we really? So this is something we didn't talk about on the show the other day when it broke. Yeah. But are we out on him yet?
No, I hope so not. Tired. I got too many rookie cards to be out on him. I got way too many cards.
The guy,
I know he can't stay healthy.
He comes back from the surgery, and all of a sudden it's an oblique, which is a death sentence in baseball. This is not good for Jason Dominguez, and I think we need to officially put that to rest. But hey, if the Blue Jays want to take a chance on a guy who I would quite frankly bet you not a lot of teams do at this point, and they find a lot of value in him, then yeah, maybe it's Ben Rice and Jason Dominguez, and that's what you get for Vlad. But is that really what you're willing to do? It doesn't feel right to me. Yeah. I think it's hilarious that Vlad really saw this opportunity to piss his home fan base off, and that's exactly what he did, because he really just asked for his way out of Toronto with as much history as his family has there. Kind of just a mind-boggling move to me. I think he goes to the AL West. I think Texas. I think Houston might look for him. I think Seattle, if they really want to bolster and move Ty France around. And the Angels are out of it. They're 11 games out. Yeah. I can't see it.
Everybody's in it for the wild card, though. So you never know.
True.
By the way, congrats to the Jaguars. $1.4 billion in renovations coming to their to their current stadium, even though they play like 2 games a year in Europe anyway. Money well spent, though. It's going to do it for us. Thanks to Kurt Helin. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. Nice town and country you got going there. We'll see you all back here tomorrow.